Hi everyone, after a long break, we are back to the immunology classes because the previous classes we discussed about the hematology part of 402 paper. Now we'll start with the immunology part. And today's topic what we are going to see is factors affecting immunogenicity and haptens. So these are another two topics which is given in the syllabus. In the second unit of immunology, this is one of the topic, factors affecting immunogenicity and hapten. So we are going to see what are the different factors which affect the immunogenicity, or how what are the different factors which are needed for activating the immune system. That is what we are going to see. Now the topics what we are going to discuss today is what is antigen, what is the difference between an antigen and immunogen, what are the different types of antigen, what are haptens, and then the different types of factors that are affecting the immunogenicity. Okay, fine. Now, first we will see what are antigens. You know very well what are antigens. Antigens are the foreign substances which enters into the body, which will be capable of inducing either humoral immunity or cell-mediated immunity. Okay, these compounds are known as the antigen. So, what are antigens? Antigens are the substances, foreign substances that enters into the body, which will be capable of activating either humoral or cell-mediated immunity. Now, as a student who is studying immunology, you have to understand one thing or remember one thing always. The compounds which can activate either humoral or immune response, you cannot call them as antigen, because there are so many substances, so many molecules are there, foreign particles are there which enters into the body, but they may not be able to activate the humoral or cell-mediated immune response. So the compound which can activate humoral or cell-mediated immune response, they are known as the immunogen. So there is a difference between antigen and immunogen. So antigens, generally you can say that antigens are the foreign substance which enters into the body and activate the humoral and cell-mediated immune response. But actually when you are looking into the details of immunology, you will understand one thing. Many foreign substances will be entering into the body, but all of them will not be able to activate the cell-mediated and humoral immunity. So if a molecule, foreign substance, if they are not able to activate humoral and cell-mediated immune response, but they will be able to bind to the product of humoral and cell-mediated immune response. What is the product of humoral immune response? Humoral immune response product is antibodies. And the cell-mediated immune response, what is the product? Activated T lymphocyte, which is called as the cytotoxic T lymphocyte. Clear? So this is the product of humoral immune response, and CTLs are the product of cell-mediated immune response. This already we have discussed. I think all of you remember that. If you have any doubt, please go through the previous topic and then come back to this topic and then try to understand it. Okay, so always remember that antigens are the foreign particle which enters into the body. Sometimes most of the antigens will not be able to activate the immune system. Activation of the immune system meaning activation of humoral immune response or cell-mediated immune response. But the substances, the foreign particle, after entering into the body, if they are able to activate humoral and cell-mediated immune response, they are called as the immunogen. Remember one thing, antigens can bind to the product of humoral and cell-mediated immune response. That means antigens will be able to bind to the antibody, but they may not be able to induce the production. So the compounds which can activate the production of antibody is called as the immunogen. The compound which can bind to the product of the immune response. Product of immune response is antibody, or the other one is CTL. If they are able to bind, they will be considered as the antigens. So that is a very important definition to remember. So antigens usually, when you are talking about the antigens, you have to remember one more thing. Many particles will be entering into the body. It can be made up of different substances like protein or polysaccharide, DNA, RNA. All these foreign molecules will enter into the body. Okay, but your immune system can identify the antigen when it is proteinaceous in nature. This you have to remember always. The protein, antigens or the immunogen which can activate the immune response, they will be usually proteinaceous in nature. Sometimes the polysaccharide can also act as immunogen. But always remember that nucleic acids are poor antigens and lipids are non-immunogenic. So nucleic acid, DNA and RNA, they are poor immunogenic. Mostly they cannot activate the immune system, whereas lipids are not at all immunogenic. Lipids cannot activate the immune system. To activate the immune system, the antigen should be proteinaceous in nature, that you have to remember. Okay, now all the antigens are recognized by the immune system, but only few antigens will be capable of activating the lymphocyte. They are called as the immunogen. So immunogen is the definition for immunogen is the compounds which can activate the immune system or activate the lymphocyte B and the T lymphocyte. To activate humoral and cell mediated immune response is called as the they are called as the immunogens. Okay, now you have to understand one more thing. The immunogenicity, the immunogen, it has a capability which is called as the immunogens. It can enter into a process called as, or it can activate a process called as the immunogenicity. Now what is immunogenicity? Activation of humoral or cell mediated immune response. Now with a simple formula kind of explanation I will give you, so that you will understand what is humoral and what is humoral immunity and the cell mediated immune response. Humoral immune response means B cells will identify the antigen, or B cell directly it can identify the antigen, or B cell will get activated by the cytokines. Who will release the cytokine? T helper cells. So B cells will identify the antigen, or B cell get activated by the antigen, and it will be activating the humoral immune response. How the humoral immune response will happen? The B cell will differentiate into plasma cell and memory cell. What is this plasma cell called as? Remember, I told you when we were discussing about the humoral immune response and cell mediated immune response, I told you that the plasma cells are called as the, what are they called as? Nobody, if anybody remembers, you just message me, okay? Plasma cells and the memory cells. In the case of T cells will identify the antigen. It cannot identify the antigen directly. How will they identify the antigen? If the antigen is presented along with the MHC, antigen should be presented along with the MHC, T cells will identify it, and it will activate the T cells, T cytotoxic cells, and T cytotoxic cells. Okay, T cytotoxic cells will get converted to CTLS. Okay, now CTLS, when it is formed, it is called as the effector T cells. Effector T cells and the memory cells will be formed. I think all are clear with that. B cells will identify the antigen, or B cells once after identifying the antigen, they will be converted to plasma cell and the memory cell. T cells will get converted to effector and the memory cells. Okay, so now that's all about the immunogenicity. Now we are going to see what are the different types of antigens. You know what are the different types of antigens, because already we discussed under the antigen processing and presentation. So the types of antigens are, one is known as exogenous antigen, another one is known as endogenous antigen, and the third one is known as the autoantigens. So you have to remember that there are three different types of antigens. What are the three different types of antigens? One is exogenous antigen, that means any bacteria, pollen grain, or any foreign particle that enters into the body is considered as the exogenous antigen. And endogenous antigens are the viral proteins, or once after the integration of the viral genome into the host cell will start producing the proteins, viral proteins, and those proteins are considered as the endogenous antigen. And the third one is known as the autoantigens. Autoantigens are the, usually immune system will not identify the autoantigen. Auto meaning self. The antigens which are, or the proteins which are there in the body, usually it will not be identified by the immune system. If it is identifying the proteins, if it is identified by the immune system, that is an immunological defect which is called as autoimmune disorder. Okay, so there are three types of antigens: exogenous, the foreign particle coming inside; endogenous, meaning the viral genome. After the viral genome expression, the proteins produced is considered as endogenous antigen, and the third type of antigen is known as the autoantigens. And one more thing to remember: all the antigens, I will make a diagram. All the antigens will have antigenic determinants on the surface. Okay, the antigenic determinants, or the area of the antigen, or amino acid sequence of the antigen, that is identified by the immune system. Okay, the portion of the antigen, this is an antigen, the portion of antigen which is identified by the immune system is called as the epitope. Don't forget this. What are epitopes? Epitopes are the region of antigen which is identified by the immune system. What do you mean by identified by the immune system? The portion of the antigen where the antibody will bind. To the entire area, antibody will not be binding. Antibody will identify some of the portions of the antigen. So this area of or the portion of the antigen that binds with the antibody is called as the epitope. Epitope is also called as antigenic determinants. Antigenic determinants. The portion of antigen that binds with an antibody is called as the epitope, which is also called as the antigenic determinants. Okay. So all of you please note down the definition for epitope. Immunologically active region of an immunogen that bind to antigen that bind to the antibodies. It is called as the antigenic determinants or epitopes. Fine. Now, before starting with the hapten, we will see what are the different types of factors which will influence the immunogenicity. Okay, so for the immunogenicity to happen, what is immunogenicity? Activation of either humoral or cell-mediated immune response is known as the activation of immune system. Now, or that is known as the immunogenicity. Now, there are different types of factors which are needed, or the antigen should have some of the characteristic feature, then only the immunogenicity will be activated. The first one is known as the foreignness. What do you mean by the term foreignness? The particle, the antigen which enters into the body, they should not be belonging to your body. Okay, that means increase the distance in phylogenetic distance. Increase, if there is an increase in the distance in phylogenetic relation, the greater will be the antigenicity. Okay, so I'll explain it with an example. BSA. What is BSA? Bovine serum albumin. Bovine serum albumin, that is derived from bovine or cow. That you have to remember, bovine serum albumin. That is the most widely used protein for most of the studies. Bovine serum albumin, that can be used as an antigen for inducing the immune system. But when bovine serum albumin is injected into the cow or into the bovine, it will not be acting as an antigen. Why it will not be acting as an antigen? Because bovine serum albumin is a derivative of bovine. It has similarity. The protein which we are injecting into the bovine, it is similar because that protein is there in the bovine. Thereby, this will not be identified by the immune system of the cow. But when you inject this BSA into rabbit or into horse or even into the human being, bovine serum albumin will act as antigen. Now all of you are clear with that? Okay, now the antigen to activate the immunogenicity, to activate the humoral and cell-mediated immune response, the antigen which is entering into the body, it should be completely foreign. It should not be similar to the proteins which are there in the body. So I have given one example. Bovine serum albumin, when it is injected into the bovine, it cannot act as an antigen. It cannot activate humoral or cell-mediated immune response. But when it is injected into the rabbit, horse or human being, it can activate the immune system and it can release the product of the immunogenicity. Product of the immunogenicity is either antibodies or the activated T cell, which is called as the cytotoxic T lymphocyte. Clear? Now the second one is molecular size. Molecular size of an antigen is very, very important. So if the molecular size of an antigen is less, then it will not be identified by the immune system. If the size is less, then immunogenicity is less. If the size is more, then immunogenicity is. If it is too high also, immune system cannot identify. There should be a proper size, then only the immune system will identify the antigen. Usually the antigen of size between 14,000 to 6 lakh Dalton, 14,000 to 6 lakh Dalton, that will be identified as the proper antigen. So molecular size is a very, very important factor. If the size of the antigen is less than 10,000 Dalton, or if it is more than 6 lakh Dalton, then immune system cannot identify it. It should be between 14,000 Dalton to 6 lakh Dalton. Then only immune system will identify it as a antigen. Next one is chemical nature and complexity. The antigen, the nature of the antigen, it should be complex. However complex it is, if it is highly complex, then it will be a very good immunogen. Okay, so say for example, homopolymers usually it will not be identified by the immune system, or the immune response for a homopolymer that will not be that good when compared to the heteropolymers. Heteropolymer immunogenicity is more when compared to the homopolymer. That indicates that if the molecule is highly complex, it will be more immunogenic. Okay, so that's all about the chemical nature and complexity. Now the next one is the route of administration. Route of administration that plays a major role. There are different types of various routes are there for the entry of antigen. Usually antigen enters into the body through the mouth, through the respiratory tract, through the digestive tract, through the urogenital tract, through the small cuts which are there on the body. So through any one of the region, antigens will be entering. But when you are doing some of the experiment, route of administration means there are different types of route of administration. Some of the there are different types are there. One is intravenous. What do you mean by intravenous administration? Directly injecting into the vein. Another one is known as the intradermal. What do you mean by intradermal? Below the skin you have to inject it. Another one is known as intramuscular. Intramuscular is into the muscle. So these are various ways of route of administration. So when you are testing the antigen, or when you are doing some study with the antigen, these are the various routes of administration of the antigen. When the antigen is administered in the form of intradermal injections, okay, so when it is injected as injected through the intradermis, or subcutaneous you can say, this will directly go to the lymph node. Okay, so when you are taking some of the antigen, when you are giving the antigen through oral cavity, what happens is antigen enters into the digestive tract, and their digestive juice is there, that is HCl. Sometimes the antigen get denatured. So usually when they are doing some experiment with the antigen, the oral route is avoided. Most of the antigens will have the method is known as the oral tolerance. So because of the gastric juice, presence of gastric juice, the antigens will not be identified by the immune system. So to avoid that, or to overcome that, they usually give the antigen through intravenous or subcutaneous or intradermal injection. So when it is given as a subcutaneous injection, this will directly go to the lymph node. So when I explained about the lymph node, I told you that throughout the body, lymph nodes are there. So the lymphatic system is there throughout the body. In between the lymphatic vessel, nodes are there, which is called as the lymph node. So when you are injecting the antigen through a subcutaneous method, antigens will be directly taken to the lymph node, because the lymph nodes are nearby, and immune system gets activated faster when compared to the intravenous. Intravenous means you are putting directly injecting into the blood. So where it will go, the antigen will move to the spleen. Okay, it has to travel a lot of distance, reach to the spleen, and after reaching there, and it has to go through the various regions. You remember the antigen enters, and then there are different regions for the spleen, and then activation of the primary follicle, secondary follicle, activation of the B cell, and then plasma cell, antibody production, and then antibody comes out of the spleen. So it's a very large route. So to activate the immune system in a better way, the subcutaneous route is the best one. Okay. Next one is the adjuvant. Adjuvants are the substances which are used to activate the immune system. Okay. So to activate the antigen. So some of the antigens are not that immunogenic. It will not be that immunogenic, or the capability of the antigen can be enhanced by mixing the antigen along with a compound called as the adjuvants. Okay, so adjuvants are the compounds which will enhance the immunogenicity. Okay, there are two different types of adjuvants. Okay, so you can write the definition for adjuvant. Adjuvants are the substances when mixed with the antigen and injected enhances the immunogenicity. So what are adjuvants? Adjuvants are the substances when mixed with the antigen plus adjuvant. When it is mixed with the adjuvant, the adjuvant will enhance the immunogenicity. Okay. Now, whenever adjuvants are mixed with the antigen persistence is prolonged. The antigen will be there in the site of injection for a longer time period. That is called as antigen persistence is prolonged. Co-stimulatory signals are enhanced. When the antigen is there for a longer time in the site of injection, co-stimulatory signals will get activated. So it will, the persistence will be prolonged, co-stimulatory signals are enhanced, local inflammation is also increased, and non-specific proliferation of the lymphocyte will also happen. So 4 things will happen when antigen is injected along with the adjuvant. What are those 4? Antigen persistence is prolonged, co-stimulatory signals are enhanced, local inflammation is increased, and non-specific proliferation of the lymphocyte. Okay. There are 2 types of adjuvants which are generally used for or the immunological studies. All the time when you do the immunological studies, antigens will be mixed with 2 different types of adjuvants. One is known as the Froude's incomplete adjuvant, another one is known as the Froude's complete adjuvant. There are 2 types of adjuvants which are used in the experimental studies. One is known as incomplete adjuvant, another one is known as the complete adjuvant. Froude's incomplete adjuvant and the complete adjuvant. Now we are going to see the difference between complete and the incomplete adjuvant. In the case of incomplete adjuvant, first you have to know about the incomplete adjuvant. What are incomplete adjuvants? Incomplete adjuvants are antigen. Antigen is first dissolved in water and mineral oil is mixed. Along with mineral oil, emulsifying agent will be used. That emulsifying agent is known as the manned monooleate. Okay. So what are the things? In the case of incomplete adjuvant, first antigen is mixed with water. This is one component. This will be mixed with mineral oil, and along with the mineral oil, emulsifying agent will be added. You know what is emulsifying agent? Emulsifying agent will be added. So this is known as the incomplete adjuvant. Antigen dissolved in water, which is added with the mineral oil, and an emulsifying agent. Emulsifying agent is manned monooleate. Manned monooleate. This is the emulsifying agent. Okay. Now this is known as the incomplete adjuvant. So when it is when this one is injected into the body, this is the most commonly used one and designed to provide continuous release because of the presence of oil and the emulsifying agent. When it is injected into the body, it will retain in that injected site for a longer time. Now the drawback of the adjuvant is because of the presence of oil and emulsifying agent, sometimes granulomas can be seen. Granulomas can be seen. That is the disadvantage of the adjuvant. Next one is the complete adjuvant. Complete adjuvant is highly effective. Along with this entire thing is known as the incomplete adjuvant. Along with the incomplete adjuvant, one more component will be added. When one more component is added, this will become a complete adjuvant. What is that one more component? Heat-killed Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Heat-killed Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Heat-killed Mycobacterium tuberculosis, that will be added along with the incomplete adjuvant. Then it becomes a complete adjuvant. Now what happens is muramyl peptide, that is one of the component of the cell wall of this organism, muramyl peptide, that will activate the macrophages. Okay, they are more potent than incomplete adjuvant. So because the incomplete adjuvant itself is very good and we are activating the immune system by adding one more component, that is the heat-killed Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So when muramyl peptide of the cell wall can activate the macrophages, thereby antigenicity or the immunogenicity will be faster when compared to the incomplete adjuvant. So when you add a Mycobacterium tuberculosis, this will become a complete adjuvant. Now the last topic what we are going to discuss today is the haptens. Okay, Haptens are antigens. Okay, they cannot activate the immune system by itself. Okay, haptens are the components. They are antigenic, but incapable of producing the antibody. Okay, always haptens need a carrier. Haptens, it cannot, imagine that this is the hapten. When it is injected into the body, it cannot activate the immune system. When the hapten is conjugated with a carrier molecule, haptens can activate the immune system and produce the antibodies. Okay, so haptens are antigenic but incapable of activating the humoral or cell mediated immune response. They are called as the haptens. Okay, so hapten always need a carrier molecule. They are incapable of activating the immune system. And that's all about the factors affecting immunogenicity and haptens. Under this particular topic, you have to remember what are antigen, what is the difference between antigen and immunogen, what are the different types of antigens, what is hapten, and the factors influencing the immunogenicity. Factors influencing immunogenicity is very important topic. First one is foreignness. It should be completely foreign, and the antigen which enters into the body, they should be made up of protein. If it is a proteinaceous one, the immunogenicity will be more. Polysaccharide also sometimes it can activate the immune system, but DNA or nucleic acid and the lipid, they are poor immunogenic, or they cannot activate the immune system. Then we discussed about the molecular size, chemical nature and complexity, the route of administration. Then adjuvant, there are two types, complete and incomplete, and degradability. We have not discussed. I think degradability means they should be able to undergo degradation faster. That means antigen should be easily phagocytosed by the macrophages. The macrophages lysosomal enzymes that should be able to degrade the antigen, and then the processing and presentation, it has to happen quickly. Then only the immune response will be activated. So antigen should be easily phagocytosed and must be degraded by the lysosomal enzyme. They are considered as immunogenic than the components which are not degradable. Okay, so that's all about the this particular topic. The next class will discuss about the antibody structure. Right? Okay, please go through the topic. Thank you.